Hi, it's Larry Herb, Xbox's Major Nelson. Welcome to the official Xbox podcast. You're here. You're having fun. We're going to talk about games, give you some news for, hold on a minute here. Where's Rebecca?
Oh, I thought we were stopping.
Last week it was Rebecca and I in the studio. This week it's you and I back in our homes, and Rebecca's not here. So she unfortunately...
Here's the thing.
Yes.
Me and Rebecca are just not on speaking terms right now. We cannot both be on the show at the same time. It's just completely unacceptable.
No, unfortunately, we did get a message from her this morning. She's feeling a little bit under the weather, so I said, "Don't worry about it. You know, if we can't bring our best selves to the show, we can't do the show.
We don't show at all. There is no show.
Although last week I have to talk to you a little bit because a lot of folks, in the thumbnail I was holding, if you notice the thumbnail, I was holding you up in last week's show because I wanted you to be part of the show. And everyone was, you were drinking, looked like Topo Chico in the desert. Can you tell us where you were and what you were doing?
Yeah. I went to where the Topo Chico comes from. Not exactly, but I was in Mexico. As you know, we've got a game coming out today, Forza Horizon 4, which takes place Forza Horizon 5, which takes place in the beautiful country of Mexico. And I was in a very interesting part.
This is the picture I was showing last week.
Yes. And it was interesting because it looked deserty, but those mountains were covered in trees. And so I think the breadth of biomes that you will see in Forza Horizon 5, it's real. It's great. So we've been doing a series of in support of our big games that are hitting Xbox Game Pass, like Back 4 Blood and Age of Empires 4 and Forza and Halo. We're doing these cool like PC builds with creators. In this case, Austin Evans.
Oh, Austin! He's a good friend of the show and good friend of Xbox.
Yeah, he was the first person to really, hold the Xbox Series X and sort of do that teardown back. Oh my God, early 2020 when we were naive.
If I remember correctly, Jeff, isn't he the one that finally revealed to everybody, even though you and I knew it, that the top wasn't lit? Like, remember everybody thought with the green in it that it was the Xbox Series X that was like light, and it wasn't. It was just kind of a design in there.
Yeah, he had that first look, with all the different parts and everything back in March, I want to say, of 2020. Anyway, I was out there with him because putting sort of the finishing touches on a really cool gaming PC for Forza. Of course, Forza Horizon 5 is day and date on console and on PC, and both through Xbox Game Pass. And he outdid himself, him and his team, with a really cool build. And so we were just doing the finishing touches there. And so I was out there for a couple of days, had a heck of a time getting home because, travel. I'm out of practice, Larry, and maybe the airlines are too because they canceled all my flights. But
you look pretty good. You look pretty relaxed there. You look good back out in the desert.
It was like 81 degrees. I'm drinking an ice cold Topo Chico. There was no complaints. There's no complaints at all. My only thing that really did hurt me is, I don't want to say it was my idea, but I sort of was pushing you to do it in-person show with Rebecca. I haven't seen Rebecca since December since the Christmas party, I think, in 2020 or 2019. And then when we found out this is the day it was going to happen, I was going to miss it. I never hesitated. Of course, I'm going to be going to Mexico with Austin Evans, but I did feel a little bit bad that
we threw you under the bus last week because it was.
I listened. It was a good show. Y'all looked great. You sounded great. We have to do it again.
Yeah.
If anything, because if we schedule another one, it might mean I'm going to another sunny locale, and so win-win really for me is.
Were you up? Were you at altitude or were you up very high? I know you were in the mountains.
Yeah, we were at shot. It was over 5,000 feet of altitude.
Did you have any problems?
No, I didn't have any issues. Which is weird because I'm asthmatic and my breathing is something that I always have to think about. But at elevation, it's never really
because it impacted me. If you remember when we went to Mexico for XO a few years ago, maybe it was before, went somewhere else, and I had I had a lot of problems.
I think it was Mexico City. You were not feeling great.
It wasn't the breathing. Higher. It was just like I was completely off, and I couldn't sleep, and I just there's nothing worse than anyway, whatever. But it was
yeah. So let's if we do a show in like Bolivia or something where I think average altitude is like 10,000 feet or something, we'll make sure to get you some Dramamine or something. But I missed you. But it's good to be back, and now I now just miss Rebecca.
It's good to have you back. We talked about Forza Horizon. We're going to have an interview later on for that show. I hope I do. I want to be in perfect. Well, I'm just saying, because normally by the time we record the main show, this part, all the interviews are done and they're in the can, as we say. That one's not done. So if I talk about it and it doesn't appear, it's because for some there was a reason, scheduling or what have you. But hopefully we'll have that on later in the show. Also, Emma Bridle is going to stop by. Emma is director of voice for Age of Empires, and I know you've been playing a lot of Age of Empires, haven't you? Tell us about that.
I am completely sucked into it. I feel like tend to play a lot of really like action heavy games and shooters and stuff like that. But every few years, back in the day, I remember when Age 2 came out, and I think I was maybe in college back then, and I went to go, and I was like, I don't know, it just seemed really interesting to me. I love history. And I remember at the time, there was like a expansion, like super deluxe version of Age 1. Age 2 was $50 or whatever. And there was like a really fancy version of Age 1 for like $10. And I was like, oh, I'm going to get that one. And I got very into the original Age of Empires. And I played a little bit of 2.
Always the price conscious consumer.
This is how, no one has unlimited time or money, and especially in college. So I got very into it. I love the campaigns and played through all those. That was like maybe one of the heydays of RTSs when you had Red Alert and Command and Conquer and all those games, and original like Warcraft 1 and 2 before World of Warcraft. And so I very much liked those. And then I kind of got out of it. I played a little bit of Halo Wars. Those were good games, but Age 4 is very good. The campaign is phenomenally well done, and what's really cool, and I think I've been seeing other people, quote this as well, as watching like Game Ranks, Before You Buy. Big fan of Jake Baldino. I watch all of his videos, and he really gives you a good idea of what to expect from a game. And he called it out after each level in the campaign. I'm not even touching multiplayer; I'll get crushed. But the campaign, there's a lot of levels. There's 10 in the first act, which is I'm on like 8 or 9 right now. In between each mission, there's like a really, really well produced video where at least this first one, it's taking place in England primarily, and they're showing like real life right now, shot with drones and everything, Dover Castle and stuff like that. But then they superimpose what the battle would have looked like around it, and where the soldiers would have been massed. It's like it makes it come to life. Oh, this field now in the middle of York, England, this is where that battle happened. It's amazing how well some of this stuff is preserved. Like Dover Castle was built 1,000 years ago, and you can still go there. And I did visit it on one trip, and to be able to do a game battle in it, just super fun.
Yeah.
And so my advice to you is, if you're not sure but you kind of like history, turn the difficulty down. I'm playing out of like the 6 difficulty levels. I'm playing on like number 2, I want to say, and I'm enjoying myself. I'm just really
so it's more of a scrimmage as opposed to a battle.
Yeah. They're not throwing everything that they have at me. I've been watching some like more advanced people like Lyric. I was also down in LA. We did something really cool with Lyric, who's a very well-known variety creator, and he's been into Age. And we did a stream with him, and watching him go, like, he's like next level. But then even he cites other creators who are like even more like, so if he's like a general, they're like the admirals or the whatever's ahead of a general. And I'm down here, I'm a pikeman and trying to do my best here. But again, really fun game. Check it out. It's on Game Pass.
Emma's going to talk PC. About it later on. She's going to talk about, like Jeff just talked about, hands-on history. In fact, Emma talks about how she grew up in a small town in England, and she learned about something that had happened there from Age. So you're
so
spot
cool.
on. You're spot on with that, Jeff. So we'll talk about that. We'll do that interview. Of course, hopefully we'll have a conversation with Mike Brown about Forza Horizon, which, as you said, is early access this week. It's launching like right now, right?
Yeah, it's available now. If you've got like the deluxe version of the game, if you're waiting to play through Xbox Game Pass on console or PC, available on Monday. Phenomenal game.
Or you can upgrade. If you're on Game Pass, you can actually upgrade to one of the higher SKUs and get instant access.
That's a great addition. So really, one of the people who we were working with when we were in Mexico, we were playing the game, and he was like, "This reminds me of driving in Mexico." It's really, right. You get a feel for it. And we were outside of the city, and we were out there. And now that I'm back home playing Forza Horizon, it's really cool to like see. Oh, okay, I see where that's coming from. That's just really fun. It's a Playground's so talented, and everything from like the visuals, which are of course stunning. It's fun. The soundtrack is excellent, and just the levels of different tuning and stuff.
The cars,
too. I've really been messing with that. Yeah. So, just it's great, and I think millions of people are going to love it.
You're playing Age. We're going to play Forza this weekend. We've been playing a little bit of it because we had early access. But we also jumped back in because of the interview I did last week into Apex Legends.
So that's what got me hyped up is listening, like on the flight back, I was listening to the show, having a little bit of FOMO for not being part of it, and listening to your interview on Apex. And you know what got me back out? And it's definitely my most played game of like the Xbox One generation, but kind of faded a little bit over the past 2 seasons. But they brought the triple take back.
You loved your TT.
And then I love my TT. It's my crutch. I love that weapon. And then also the car, which you had mentioned, which came from Titanfall, which was always just a really fun weapon to use. So last night, we tee it up. We jump in, you, me, and my daughter. What happens, Larry?
Well, we jumped in. We on the brand new map, by the way. They've got the new map. We did. And you and I were not even playing with the new hero. Your daughter wasn't the new hero. I wasn't the new hero. And you weren't the new hero. And we dropped in, center the new map, and I'm like, let's go north, because I remember interviewing during the interview, he was talking about how everything flows down. And certainly you don't know where the circle's going to go, but we had the luck of the circle last night, right?
Yep. So we landed, and it was just the edge, and we had a lot of time to sort of.
And I'm like, hey, let's go up north, because I don't think because I was watching, everybody landed behind us, down low. Mm-hmm. We went up north, and we got really well kitted out, and just kind of had a couple of man cannoned back down, and we had a couple of altercations, and then ended up on the high ground, and we kind of did well. In fact, to the point of that, we there were 3 teams left, us, 2 other teams. But we had early intelligence due to your great eyes, or maybe it was your daughter, that there was a team coming in behind us, but it was only a team of 1.
Yeah,
so
that was her.
You and I, we took out the team of 3, and then it was really us 3v1. So it was really, we just, as usual, we over strategized. Like, you go here, and it was just unfortunate.
Because we have blown those situations before. We have absolutely been like, we got it, and then we just get reckless and do it. And we had our full strategy. No one even got knocked. 1 game. 1 win, perfect season.
Good night, everybody.
I'm out. Yeah. So I think we'll be going back. It was really fun. The new map is cool. I think what's really interesting, and they talked about it last week, is I think they want to reduce the amount of like third parties. And there's nothing worse than like you just clean up, you beat you take out another squad, you're rezzing and everything, and then immediately someone else jumps on you, and you're like, I didn't have a chance there.
Yeah, and we've been that third party sometimes.
You give and you get, for sure. But it's interesting the way the map is done. Like once, because where we landed high ground, we chased off another team, and they took the man cannon and they went. And we knew it was very unlikely they were going to be coming back in, like once they were gone, they were kind of gone.
Yep.
And just because of the way that there's the unidirection of the man cannon. And then what was funny is they were waiting at the bottom for us. And we managed to.
Well, what happened was you and your daughter went ahead, and because I had kind of went over on another part of the map, and I was like rushing to catch up with you because the circle was closing, and you 2 landed and started the battle, and I think they just thought it was you 2, and then I kind of dropped in there and said, "Okay, here we go," and took care of some business.
And that's how you get 3 kills with 200 damage or whatever you landed. So good job. It was a team effort. We have to do it again. I think you hate to say you peaked in the very first game of the season, but there is nowhere to go but down right now.
Anyway, Apex Legends always a good time in there. So hey, we should stop down and do the interviews. Should we do that?
Let's do it.
Okay, well, let's stop and do that. We'll talk about Age of Empires, which we just did, Forza Horizon, and we'll get you all caught up there. Hey, Emma, it's great to see you.
Hi, lovely to see you too. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's so good to see you. And you and I have worked together for quite some time. We'll talk about that in a minute. But you are here to talk about Age of Empires, which released last week on PC. Exciting for World's Edge Studio, isn't it?
Oh my goodness, so exciting. It's a project of so much love and dedication, and it's so exciting to see it out in players' hands and for people to be enjoying it.
I was scrolling through my Twitter feed, and people are excited about Age of Empires on PC. It's part of PC Game Pass, and they're excited for that. But I also realized that there's quite a large audience, because the Xbox audience has grown over the years, and certainly gaming audience has grown over the years, that may not be familiar with the Age of Empires franchise. So can you give us kind of like a primer to get us started?
Absolutely. So the first Age of Empires title launched in 1997. So we're having our 25th anniversary next year. Some people may remember getting a demo disc for it in their cereal box back in the 90s. That's a big nostalgia hit for a lot of people. And Age of Empires is a real-time strategy franchise based in human history. So you pick a civilization, you start with a small set of villagers, and you build that small village, as you can see here, gathering sheep, gathering your resources, starting to build an economy, and you grow and build an empire where you can engage in exciting battles and sort of conquer the lands. And so it's been going, as I said, about 24 years. The first 3 games were released between 1997 and 2005. And then over the last few years, we've revisited those with definitive editions, and those are in Game Pass if you want to go and try the original 3. And so Age of Empires 4 is really a new chapter in this beloved franchise. And the games have been played all over the world by millions of people, and they're really, really beloved. And because they've been going so long, lots of people have a big emotional connection to them, which makes my job really, really rewarding. And so excited there's a new chapter.
As we head into the 20th anniversary of Xbox, people forget that there's other parts of the company that have been doing gaming for quite some time. We talk about Flight Simulator, we talk about Age of Empires, of course, Solitaire has been around for a long time. So, but you talked about Age, and it's been around for, as you said, 25 years, or as we like to say, quarter of a century. Makes it sound even older, right? How do you talked about you start with a small civilization and you grow it to be this empire. How do you scale the gameplay so that the games don't take 25 years to play, right?
So with this game, we've got a great formula in Age of Empires. We know what people love, and we really built this one as a game that people could try for the first time. As you said, some people may never have played Age before, may never have played RTS before. And so we've added a lot of features here to help get people up to speed, get them some practice in the basic skills. And so games can take a variety of times, depend where your focuses are, but there's a whole load of stuff in Age of Empires 4 to really get you up to speed. So if you're trying it for the first time, I'd recommend you try our tutorial. You can find that in the Learn tab. And if you really want to dive into some skills, we've got some challenges called Art of War that allow you to really build up your skills so that when you engage in multiplayer matches, perhaps, you've really had some good grounding there.
Now, you said something interesting. You said multiplayer matches, because most people think of Age as a single player, you versus the CPU, the computer. But tell us what the multiplayer match is like. Is it 1v1? Is it 1v many? What does that look like?
So you can have up to 8 players in the combination that you want. You could do 1v7 if you want. And, we have some excellent players in our studio. So sometimes that's the way to go. 1 excellent player and 7 people can take them on. But yeah, you can customize the game however you like. You can blend in AI. You can have real players. You can pick your map, your victory conditions. So you can really customize the game for the way that you want to play. You can build up your mettle if you want, playing versus the AI in our skirmish mode, and then you can progress to multiplayer where you can play with other players. And there's a whole host of people in that multiplayer environment. So there'll be newbies all the way up to people who've been playing for some time.
We talked about the fact that World's Edge and this, which is the internal studio here at Microsoft, you developed this with Relic, which is a classic studio.
Absolutely.
Your title that I popped up there a moment ago is Director of Player Voice. What does that mean? Right? Because there's community, there's player voice. What does that mean to most folks?
So It's a bespoke title that we put together because what I'm doing is a little bit different. But basically, my job is all about our players. So we're player focused. I look after our teams that are engaging directly with our players, building experiences for them. So I look after community, customer support, our web team. I work with what we call flighting, which is getting the game in players' hands before launch. I work in historical writing, and then I'm doing a bit of licensing on the side. So my entire day is consumed with what do our players want? How are we going to deliver that to them? How do we gather their feedback? What experiences can we create? So I love what I do, and I get to work with the best part of gaming, which is players.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a superset of the community. You came from the community side because, maybe folks don't know this. You used to work at Rare.
Yes, I was there 6 and a bit years. So, I had the honor of launching Sea of Thieves and Rare Replay. And that was my first industry job. Wonderful, wonderful studio. So I now have 2 gaming families, Rare and World's Edge. Yeah,
you've certainly had, and I just loved and really enjoyed seeing your career just kind of take off with all of these amazing titles. Getting back to a little bit around Age, can you tell us more about the hands-on history and what it does for the franchise?
Yeah, so Hands on History is a series of unlockable videos. So you play through our campaigns. We have 4 campaigns with 35 missions that really look at stories of history. We're set in the medieval period. There's so many stories to tell. We have 4 campaigns, the Norman campaign, the 100 Years' War, the Rise of Moscow, and the Mongol Empire. And as you play through these missions of the campaign, you unlock these videos. And Hands on History really looks at life at the time that the game is set. So obviously the game has a lot of military elements, but we also look at non-military life. So we look at things like, oh my goodness, how building a castle and how illuminated manuscripts and also mask making. There's all sorts of things that are unlockable. And we work with this amazing partner called Lion TV in the UK. And being British, you can probably tell from my accent, I grew up with the BBC, and it's basically like having a BBC or a Netflix documentary built into the game that helps bring the content that you're playing to life and gives you that extra context. So as a history buff, this is one of the big draws for me for Age 4. There's a video in the game about medieval surgery, which every time I watch it, I get,
By the way, those are 2 words you really never want to hear together, medieval and surgery.
Yeah, I highly recommend it as a watch. But the funny story, I was shown it when I joined the team, and it talks about a key battle in British history that took place in a small town called Shrewsbury. That's where I was born. Wow. I had no idea this had happened. And so I learned about the town I was born in and was educated in from Age of Empires 4, having lived there, 30 plus years, never learned this part of history. And I learned it in Age 4. So these videos really just bring history to life. It's amazing.
We talked about the hands-on history. So these are all this research is done. And this is, as you said, what you learned, this is real stuff. I mean, so a lot of the gameplay and the scenarios are set up on real life scenarios.
Yeah. So they tell these wonderful stories over periods of time. The 100 Years' War, which actually was 116 years.
But they just rounded down, and it sounded easy. 116-year war doesn't sound as good as 100-year war.
No, but it tells the story of key battles and key moments, and obviously Joan of Arc, who I've got her on my necklace because I think she's so inspiring. She comes in to play, and you can play her as a hero character, and so really you're sort of stepping into the shoes of these key moments, and the line for the game is make history your story. And you're really doing that by stepping into these key moments you may have learned about in school and getting to play them and make the decisions as the leader. And how are you going to approach this? And these documentaries just help set the context of what was going on at the time. What were the people thinking and feeling? What was the political context? What were the leaders in these situations having to consider? And it's unlike anything I've ever seen in a video game. And it really, really does bring it to life.
I mean, I'm focusing on the gameplay here because first and foremost, I mean, the game is incredibly beautiful. I mean, it's just so lovely.
I think, absolutely. So much effort went into, you just look at the buildings. recreating the architecture. So every civilization that you play has a different look to their buildings, and it's so accurate. When I play as the English, having grown up in the UK, those buildings make me feel homesick because they're so spot on. They've captured the feel of the region. And so there's so much attention to detail with RTS, because you have, action going on all the time. We really needed to focus on things like unit readability and scaling, so that at a glance you can see what's going on with your civilization, where your units are, what are they doing, where do they need to be. So I think it's just beautiful. Really, really love it.
Yeah, and you can see in this screenshot, and if you're watching this on YouTube, on the YouTube channel, you can see, this can be a little confusing to new players because they're not quite sure what to do. They're moving around, they're zooming in, they're grabbing things, they're giving direction. But that's the beauty of the tutorials you have, is that you really get people, get people brought in pretty simply.
I was replaying it a couple of days ago, and even the tutorial has a story. You've got these displaced villagers. Conquerors have come to their lands. They've had to leave their village. So you need to set them up with a new location. They need to build up an environment. They need to build an economy. And so even the tutorial has a story to it. But it'll teach you the basics like resource management, how to age up, initial combat, and it'll teach you things like control groups for your units. And so really, really recommend giving it a try. And then as I said, moving on to the Art of War missions that allow you to test specific skills. And there's a medaling system in that, so you can revisit them and see if you can improve. So I'm going for all the gold medals in all of those challenges.
I also want to point out that this is, this obviously it's on Game Pass for PC. So if you have Game Pass Ultimate or Game Pass for PC, you should download it and try it out. And it works on a variety of PCs, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We're very aware that, with PC gaming, we've got people playing on everything from a year's old laptop, but they desperately want to play, all the way through to they've just built their dream rig. And it's really important as well. We have players all over the world, and that speaks to different availability of tech, of components. And so we were really focused on making sure the game could be played by as many people as possible, and they would still get a great gaming experience. So we have an article on Xbox Wire and ageofempires.com that talks about our min spec mode, where if your machine is a little older or doesn't quite have the high-end specs, you can still play, and we still were thinking of you during the development. So it was very important knowing our player base and knowing that this might be people's first foray into Age of Empires, that they be able to play no matter what their hardware looks like.
I know that a lot of PC and game developers focus on, this is our dream, profile of what we want, and it's a $6,000 PC. Well, not everybody has those. So the fact that you guys have taken some extra time to give everybody who has a PC or something that they can enjoy, right?
Yeah, I'm very proud of that. And if you do have a $6,000 PC, it'll look great. You can watch all the documentaries in 4K, optimize all your settings for a really great experience. But if you don't, you're still going to have a great time playing Age of Empires. It's still going to look good.
Tell me a little bit about the community console and what they did with Age of Empires 4.
Yeah, well, we know that working on Age of Empires is a great honor because, as I said, people have been playing it for so long and they're so connected to the game, and really they've kept it going for this length of time, that it was really important to give our players a seat at the development table and have them involved as we looked at this next chapter of the franchise. So we formed a community council back in 2017, really early on in development. And at the start, it was 11 members. We flew them out to Vancouver to visit Relic, to spend time with the team, to take a look at what had been built so far. And then over the preceding 4 years, they've been hands-on with the game. So we've been delivering them builds of the game so they could play at home, let us know what they think, give us feedback. And we've changed things in the game because of their feedback. We know that with Age of Empires, not everyone plays every title. So we made sure to have players who love the original Age, Age 2, Age 3, Age of Mythology, who play competitively, who only play campaign, so that all their perspectives were represented. So we made sure there was something for every kind of Age player in this game. And they helped, and they made sure that we included naval combat. They helped change game systems. They helped change the look of the UI icons. They've changed the game in so many ways and made it better. And we're just so grateful for their time and energy over the last 4 years to make the game better. And they're playing, they're welcoming new people into the game. This is a wonderful community, and I'm very honored to get to work with them.
Yeah, I mean, it is an amazing community. I've had a chance to play a few matches and talk to folks that have been playing, and they're a lovely group. They want to teach folks and help tutor you on how to get your civilization where you want it and what move forward. It's such a lovely part to see that in the community, and you must see that every day as the director of Player Voice.
Absolutely, and it's really wonderful as well seeing people stream the game for the first time. We get a lot of people who say, "I learned to play Age of Empires. I got better at Age of Empires through my Twitch chat."
Yeah,
through streaming it and the play. People joining my chat, seeing that maybe my strategies aren't on point, or maybe I could optimize how I'm doing things, and dropping that in the chat and coaching me. So it's a really welcoming community who want to make sure that everybody has a great time playing.
Age of Empires available now on Game Pass, Ultimate Game Pass for PC. Any other final words before I let you go, Emma?
Just we're really, really excited. We're already gathering feedback. This is a phenomenal game, and I hope you'll play and enjoy.
And of course, if you want to follow up what's going on there, you see it right there on the screen at Age of Empires on Twitter, and people can find you in all the regular social places. Emma Bridle, Director of Player Voice for World's Edge. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
Forza Horizon 5 is available in some parts right now. Going to be available for Xbox Game Pass members next week. Joining me now is Mike Brown, the creative director for Playground Games. Mike Brown, welcome to the show.
Hey, Larry, thank you so much for having me. I'm actually a big fan of the show. I listen every week. So, really excited to be here.
I got to tell you, when I found out we were going to get you on, and I'm a big fan of Playground Games, as you know, and all the work that y'all are doing out there. It's been so great to see the studio grow over the past decade and just have this tremendous success. And I mean, here we are. And as I said right just a moment ago, is that Forza Horizon 5, it's available now for some folks, but it's available for all Xbox Game Pass members in just a few days, depending upon when you're listening to this. Why don't you explain that? Because it's available for some folks right now, right?
That's right, yes. So if you have purchased the premium edition, or if you're a Game Pass subscriber, you can purchase the premium add-ons bundle. Both of those things get you the game, plus 2 expansions, plus the car pass, plus VIP, plus the welcome pack, and they get you access to the game a little bit early. So you'll be able to access from November 5th in your local time zone. Yeah. And if you don't have that, then it's available to Game Pass subscribers from the 9th, which is next Tuesday. Yeah,
which is everybody. So that's great to see. I want to talk a little bit about, because as you and I record this, we just recording this right before the show airs, is that all these reviews have dropped, and you're kind of, there's all these like lots of accolades going on. Some are calling it the highest rated game of this generation, and it's well done, my friend. Well done to the team.
Yeah, I mean it's always really humbling. It's as I came into work to sit with the team and run through all the reviews. We're kind of each reading a different website and calling out key comments and stuff. It is just so rewarding after all the effort the team puts into the game to be able to just see it in the hands of, in this case, critics, and have them let us know what they think, and then within, I guess, the next few hours in the hands of players, and we'll love to hear what they think as well. The team has put so much into the game, and we're at Playground, we're really driven by a passion to make the best games, driven by quality, and we attract people that are driven by those things to come and work here. And so it's always just so rewarding and so heartening as a team when we get to release a game, put it into the hands of the press first, and then the players a few days later, and just let them tell us what they think.
Mike, tell us a little bit about your history, because you've got an interesting history coming to Playground Games and working on the Forza series. Tell us about your background before we get into the game.
Sure, yeah. So I started my career at Evolution Studios, which was a Sony first-party studio. I worked on the MotorStorm series, so MotorStorm 1, 2, 3, even Arctic Edge and MotorStorm RC. Started in a QA position, then moved into game design. I also worked on Drive Club, which was a PS4, supposed to be a PS4 launch title, actually got delayed. And then before that came out, as it got delayed, actually, as it happens, I switched sides and joined Playground Games just as Forza Horizon 2 was entering production.
Right.
And then I worked as a designer on Horizon 2, then Horizon 3. I was principal game designer on Horizon 4, and then I'm creative director on Horizon 5. So this is my first time out as creative director.
Look at you. The trajectory is amazing. I mean, but your history has been with games, driving games. What brings you and what attracts you to work on the driving games? Because there's so many different type of genres out there, but you've spent your life on driving games. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, I am a big car fan just generally. So there's that element to it. I do think there is something about driving games that attracts people that really like to play around at the edges of the very cutting edge of technology and design. I think it's one of those curious things that whenever a new console comes out, there's usually a really stunning, beautiful driving game to kind of showcase it. I think MotorStorm was one of those when PS3 came out. I think Forza Motorsport 5 looked amazing when the Xbox One came out. Forza Horizon 5 looks really, really good on the Xbox Series X and S. And I think there's a reason for that. And I think it's when you're making car games, you have really close proximity to the car industry. And there's something about people who work in the car industry and people who work in games, which is kind of similar in that they're both pushing at the very edges of engineering, of design, of technology. They're always striving to create the best and make the best looking thing and make the best performing thing. And I think there's just a really similar psychology between people in the car world and then people like myself in the video games world. And I think that mentality perhaps attracts to that particular type of game.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because you're right. I mean, everybody, well, not everybody, but most people have driven cars, have been around cars, have touched cars, have seen cars. And so it's an easy translate when you're like, oh, you see something on your screen for your console and you're like, oh, that looks really good because we've all experienced it in real life. Whereas how many of us have, I don't know, fought on a battlefield with 100 people? Probably not many. I mean, maybe there have, but it's a much more relatable experience to go through that. Mike, you talked about your journey on consoles, which working on the PlayStation consoles and then coming over here and working on Xbox. But you've also you've shipped a huge game on PC. How is that different developing for PC and console?
Yeah, it's really interesting actually. So the first PC game I worked on, which is also the first PC game Playground Games worked on, was Forza Horizon 3.
Right.
And we spun up a team. We wanted to do it internally. We didn't want to have to outsource that version. And there was definitely a lot of learnings that we had on Forza Horizon 3 to go from a single platform developer. At that point as well, there was only the Xbox One. There wasn't even the Xbox One S or the Xbox One X and the slight changes that come with that. So we went from being a single platform developer to having to, when PC, it's not really one platform, it's lots of platforms. There's a near infinite number of different configurations. And so you need to build technology that can scale really well. As soon as you're on PC, then you want to showcase at the very high end and work on the latest graphics cards and all of that great technology. But in order to bring in a lot of players to the game, you also need to work on lower end platforms. Yeah. So it's all about starting to convert your technology to, rather than targeting a really specific spec, like a single game console, to having technology that can scale both up and down. Right. And I think that is something that across those three titles, Horizon 3, 4, and I think we've really hit our stride with 5. We've become really good at building technology, sometimes brand new technology for us, that can scale to the high-end GPUs, but also scale down. I think a great example of that in Horizon 5 is our new volumetric lighting system. We've shown it a bunch of times. I think we showed it during the E3 presentation. It looks incredible on Series X. It looks amazing on high-end PC. It actually looks really good on the base Xbox One.
Right.
You just wouldn't have thought we'd have ported it down, but because it was built with the mentality of we're going to scale this up to the very top end, super expensive PC GPUs, but also we want it to be able to scale down and work on on a lower resolution display and in fact show that lighting at a lower resolution, but it still actually looks like really good. It's a big upgrade on what we had previously.
Yeah, and I know in some of the reviews, people have mentioned time and time again that this is probably the most stunning game. In fact, some people said ever. I mean, that's got to feel pretty good, right?
It's very humbling to hear people say that. It's really funny. I know game developers say this all the time, but at this point where we've just shipped the game, we've spent 3 months just spending every single day looking at bugs. And in the leadership group, it's just every day, like, right, what bugs are still in the game? What have we got to fix? And you end up having this view of the game that like, oh, it's just bugs, that's all it is. And it's not until it reaches fresh eyes that people are able to say, this is incredible.
Yeah, the glass is half full, not half empty.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's probably slightly more than half full, hopefully. But
good point. Hey, so let's talk about the game proper. Why did you guys decide to take it to Mexico? I mean, previous you were in the UK and before that beyond. Well, tell us about Mexico for this round.
Yeah, so it started out and we just shipped Horizon 4. We have. Whenever I start a new project, we give ourselves some goals. Some of them, this might sound kind of basic, but we wanted to make the biggest and best Horizon game ever. That was one of our goals, which means building our biggest ever open world for players to explore. So we start to look for countries that are massive, that could host a game like that. And it was probably the very next thought that you had. Is like, well, you can't just go huge unless you're also going diverse. Yeah. So we then started to look for countries that offered incredible natural diversity. And when we started to look at Mexico, I think I'm British. I had been to Mexico, but only just in the Caribbean, not really exploring
the tourist areas.
Yeah, exactly. But when you actually start to look through the incredible diversity in it, it's got jungles and rolling fields and farmlands and ancient cities and like incredible canyons. Like we have a volcano in the game, but there's actually like lots of volcanoes in Mexico, loads of like mountain ranges.
Has there ever been a volcano in a Forza game?
We had one once in the distance, in Horizon 2, in the very distant scenery, there was a volcano. Now it's a volcano that you can drive up and explore.
Right.
But just on Mexico, and then so we kind of already felt like we had all the building blocks to make a brilliant open world for people to explore. But Mexico also has this culture that is known and loved all over the world. Yeah. Like everyone recognizes Mexican music, Mexican art. Everyone loves Mexican food. You don't eat anything in the game, but it's still, that is like, I guess, a cultural export of Mexico that people all over the world already like and already have a place in their mind for. When you kind of start to piece all that together and think about how that could come together to make an open world game like Horizon, it feels obvious. Yeah. Like I just, where I stand now, and we're looking at the game that we just made, I'm just surprised no one's done this already.
Right. Yeah, it always does. I mean, because you've talked about, all the games you've worked on, you make it Playground and your team, you guys make it look easy. So it's not that like, why has never anybody done this? Because it's hard and you guys have accomplished it. But it's also important is you just didn't you didn't do research and go and look at Wikipedia and go to Mexico and copy and paste. You actually, your team spent a lot of time on the ground working with the culture of the Ministry culture there to make sure that it's authentic, right?
Yeah, that's right. So we did a number of things, honestly, to make sure that we were being representing the culture in a way that's authentic and fair. We worked with a cultural consultant. His name was Lalo. He also ended up becoming a scriptwriter for us as well. That just happened to be another string that he had to his bow that we were able to employ him for. And he was brilliant. He was a huge lover of Mexican culture and was able to just... He's also based in the US as well. So he was able to kind of think about how Americans would perceive things and things that Americans might mistake. And he was able to look at it through that lens of someone who is fully living Mexican culture, but is also really aware of American culture as well. Right. As you mentioned, we also worked with the INAH, which is the Mexican Ministry of Culture. We ended up with a really great relationship with them, where they were just like super excited for everything that we were doing. It didn't really start that way. They were a bit slow to respond in the first instance. I think once they realized what the game was and how we were going to be treating their country, how we were going to be celebrating their country. That changed, and they were extremely cooperative.
Wow.
And on top of that as well, we've worked with Mexican writers, actors, artists. I think we've talked a bunch about the incredible mural artists that we've had produce stuff for the game. Mexican musicians getting original compositions as well. We really approached this with just humility at every step. We kind of tried to just assume that we knew nothing, and that we should speak to local artists and local experts and make sure that everything that we're doing is as real and as authentic as it can be.
Yeah, I mean, you created the framework, the game, and now you needed to make sure that you properly decorated it and presented it in such a way. And speaking of the game, you know, I was doing a little bit of research here, and I know you've said this before, is that Forza Horizon 5 is 50% bigger than Forza Horizon 4. Did I get that accurate?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, as I said right at the top, we set out to make the biggest and best Horizon game yet, and so it's got a bigger map, more cars, more things to do, more Horizon stories. We've added expeditions. It is it's a game that's bursting at the seams with awesome stuff to see and do.
You talked about the cars. Let's talk a little bit about that, because that's obviously, at the end of the day, we talked about the place you can play in Mexico and all that Mexico brings. But now you've got to get these cars in there. You've got the Mercedes AMG 1, and one of my favorite cars, the 2020 Ford Bronco Badlands. I had a chance to spend a lot of time with one of those over the summer, and that is an amazing vehicle. I mean, they're both amazing vehicles. I haven't had a Mercedes yet, but I mean, there's hundreds of cars in the game.
Yeah, over 500. It's interesting that you call out the Bronco as well, because I think we first saw that, I guess it was about 18 months ago, when we were speaking to Ford to try and work out what awesome cars they would have that would be launching at a similar time to the game. And as soon as we saw it, it was like, oh, that looks so cool. And it's an iconic name, bringing back that Bronco badge. And I mean, the AMG 1 is awesome as well, but it's like, it just feels like, right, as we've gone along, so much of the new driving experiences that we're adding in Mexico, there's like loads of deserts to explore, there's a volcano to drive up.
It makes sense for an off-road type vehicle.
It does, right? The Bronco just feels so at home there. And I feel like as we've got closer to launch, I think, and the hype is built around the game, just outside of the game, there's been like this constant snowballing of hype around that car as well, that it's just quick becoming the hottest SUV. I was going to say of the year, but it's like, it might be ever.
Yeah, well, it's funny because when I had a chance to drive one, and I had one for a week that Ford sent me, I took the top off and the doors off because they come off so easily. And there's something, it's driving without doors, and the top is kind of a magical experience. I had never had that. And doing that during the summer, certainly you can't do that during the game, but you can, for the first time, have convertibles in the game. That's amazing, Mike. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's been a fan request, I think, since probably Forza Motorsport 1. Just let us do it. Let us take the roofs down. And we haven't really told people about it, but it's actually been a thing that our cars were always made so that they could do it. Like the animation you see is that the roof goes in. They're always made that way, but we never kind of exposed it because, there's quite a lot of work and it needs to have audio, and the lighting in the car needs to change as the roof goes down. Right. But they've always been set up to have that animation. And I think it was just great to be able to kind of do all that tech work in order to have like the lighting and stuff in the car behave appropriately as the roof comes down. That has allowed us to release that to players and let them do it. It is really fun when it's like, cause I especially enjoy it as well when it starts raining in the game and you just like, oh, let's stop and put the roof down. It's just a really silly kind of almost role play element of the game. It's like, oh, let's not get wet.
Right.
You lift your roof up.
Got to pull over and do that. You talked about the over 500 cars and all the work that goes in there. You did so much work with the audio because you have to recapture the audio. I mean, the list goes on and on. I wanted to talk to you about an important feature of the game, a new feature called Event Lab. Tell us about Event Lab.
Yeah, so Event Lab is a suite of tools that allows players to create their own races, they can create their own game modes, and they can also create their own gameplay experiences, which is, I guess, stuff that might not fit into those first two categories of actually being a race or a game mode. It's based on the design tools that we use in-house. There are some guardrails put in place so that you don't break anything, but the tool set in there is really, really similar to the tools that our designers use. So you can place things in the world. There's over 200 objects that you can place in the world, and that varies from ramps and jumps and walls and signs to footballs and smashable pinatas.
Should we think of this, Mike, as like a Forge mode for Horizon? You know, people know Forge from Halo.
Yeah. I think that's a really fair way of thinking about it. I think that I think that's a really easy way for people to just understand what we're trying to achieve with it.
Right.
I think some of the fun stuff that I've seen created, well, just this last couple of weeks, really, as we finished our day one patch, some of the team have had a chance to jump into it and make some stuff which players will be able to play if they jump into Forza Horizon 5 now. We've built. There's a boss battle in there. We've built someone's tried to recreate a scene from Jurassic Park, and with surprising effect. It really worked way better than you would have thought. So that's I think the stuff that I'm really excited for. I think whilst you can use it to make great races, the game does already have quite a lot of great races, and I'm sure people will make more cool ones. But it's that more kind of cinematic, creative stuff that I'm really excited to see what people come up with. Yeah,
you've got, we talked about that's Event Lab. You've got expeditions to allow people to it's curated and allows them to explore parts of Mexico that you want folks that they may not normally come across. Forza Link to track progress, gift drops. I mean, there is granted, more cars, bigger space. There's so many new features in here as well. I mean, that's great for players as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that you called out a few of them there. One thing that we wanted to achieve with this game was to try and create a really friendly and inviting multiplayer space where people would feel like there weren't really any barriers to them jumping into some casual multiplayer. And so things like the Horizon Tour, Forza Link, and the Horizon Arcade are all multiplayer activities in which there's not really any pressure on you, there's not really any barriers. You don't have to do any jumping into an Xbox Live party and getting into a lobby and doing all the setup and stuff. For example, with Forza Link, you can it's tracking your behavior and progress as you're driving around the world. And just as a simple example, if you've got your route set off on the map to a particular location and you're driving there, we infer that you are going to drive there and do that race. Right. So Link will pop up and give you the option to say, hey, do you want to do the Los Jardines circuit with me? And then anybody who's around you can go, yes, I'll do that. And because it's in that example based where they are on the map, it's actually quite likely that somebody else is also going there to do that race.
Right.
And when they click yes, in the background, completely hidden from view, we set up a server, we get them grouped into a party together, we do all the event setup stuff, and then they just get a notification like event setup, and then they both go in and do that.
So by the time
together.
You get there, all the for like heavy lifting, all the clicking and choosing, it's already done. You can just boom, go.
Yeah, exactly. And I do think that all that kind of administrative work around general multiplayer play is a barrier to people, and this just allows it to be a really human feeling interaction. It's like, do you want to do this race? Yes. And then all of that, for lack of a better term, administrative work is taken care of, and the next thing you know, you're in the race.
And that's that's really important to point out, because at the end of the day, that's what people want to do. They want to race, they want to explore. They don't want to sit here and I'm not saying Forza's not guilty of this, but I played a lot of other types of games. Like, I just want to play. Where do I go? I do this. I got to set up this lobby. Hold on, I'll invite you. Wait a minute. Now it's too many steps, and you guys are trying to lower that barrier, because the more friction you put in the place, forget it. I don't want to do it. But you're kind of removing that.
That's the goal. Yeah, I think once you've done a bit of multiplayer and you've maybe made friends with this person that you've just met, I think the other areas of the game where perhaps you do have to jump into a party and stuff, I think that then becomes less of a hurdle to jump over, because you've already tasted it and already had a bit of fun in these like more accessible, low friction multiplayer experiences. And then
when perhaps you're racing, you find somebody that you like, and you've raced with them and you become friends, and then of course, when you have friends, you want to give them gifts. So you've got gift drops in the game, right?
That's right. Yeah. So gift drop is just a really wholesome social feature. It uses the barn find. So barn find is obviously a feature that's been in all of the Horizon games. So once you have discovered a barn find, you've now got an empty barn. So you can drive up to that and you can choose to just give away permanently one of the cars from your garage, including any paint or upgrades or tune that you've put on there. You don't choose the specific player that it goes to, but you choose the type of player. So you can give it to a new player.
It's kind of a pay it forward thing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you choose a type of player, you give them a message, you can choose whether it comes from your gamer tag, and then you send it off. And then a little while later, that'll then arrive at somebody else. They'll just get a notification that they've been sent a gift by Major Nelson, and then it'll appear on their map. They drive over. There's a bit of a cinematic where it does a reveal of what car they've received. Right. But the nice thing about it is they receive that car from you. They get a little message that says it's from you. I hope you enjoy the car. They're feeling really nice. But where we leave them after that cinematic, they're basically at a barn, which is now empty because they've taken the thing from it. And like when you say pay it forward, there's now just that little kind of social seed planted there that maybe I should give a car as well.
Maybe I can't leave it empty. I certainly can't leave this barn empty. I need to fill it up with something. So let me go to my garage.
Exactly. So we kind of hope that there's this constant passing it on of, well, I've got this car that I love, and now I'll pass on another car. We do some checks in the background as well to make sure that you don't receive a car that you already own, right. or even better, it's a car that we know that you're going to need for something that might be coming up in the campaign for you. So we try and make it so that when you get the car, it'll actually be of some value to you and not just the third 2018 Ford Mustang you've got. There's
so much. I mean, I know I need to let you go, Mike, and it's so great to talk to you. But I mean, you've got the Horizon Open, Horizon Tours, or there's some of the races. You've got Kudos. There's just the vehicle customizations for liveries beyond my imagination. It's unbelievable. The amount of work that you guys have put into this and the evolution of it over the years is so exciting to watch. I mean, I want to just again congratulate you and everybody there, because it's a Herculean effort to ship a game, but to ship something that you guys with a 90+ Metacritic is, I mean, that's rarefied air, my friend.
Yeah, well, yeah, thanks very much, Larry. No, it means a lot to the team. I think we do care deeply about you call it a 90 rated game. I think we really care about that. We really strive for it. It's a thing that drives the whole team forward and motivates us. And I think in days like this, when you've achieved that goal, it does feel great. And I know the team's super stoked to see what fans think of it.
Well, I think it also, I mean, I'm not going to say this, but I will. It kind of sends some shockwaves across the racing, the games racing folks. I'm sure everyone's looking at going, what did they do here? Holy cow. So I know that it's great that you guys have taken the genre and really moved it down the field or down the racetrack quite significantly.
I mean, I hope so. I hope that's how everyone feels. I guess in stark business terms, those other developers are our competitors. But honestly, I'm a big fan of racing games, and right. if they're pushing themselves to be better because we're trying to push it forward, then I feel absolutely great about that.
Awesome. Well, listen, Mike, I know I could talk to you for another half hour, but I got to let you go because you've got a lot of celebrating to do and it's late your time. So thanks for your time. And just remind folks where they can get Horizon and how they can get the different versions and whatnot.
Sure. So Horizon 5 is available on Xbox Game Pass, on Xbox, on PC, and on Steam as well. And you can get the regular version part of Game Pass, or you can get the premium add-ons bundle or the premium edition of the game, and you can get access now. So that if you get the premium add-ons bundle or the premium edition, then you can jump in straight away right now.
Thanks so much, Emma and Mike. Very, very English take on the interviews on the show this way. We brought some class, I feel like, to the show.
Well, they did. I just tried to do the interviews, right?
You were not getting any of that credit, Larry.
Right. Well, I like to point out either, in this case, you and I are the left end of the bell curve. So, and here we are.
Is that the good part? No, it's not. It's not the good part, is it?
Okay, yeah, exactly. Anyway, we're cooking along here. We're missing Rebecca, who couldn't join us. She just took a little bit ill prior to the show, so gave her some R&R time to. I don't know if she's relaxing, but she's resting.
She's back in New York, so she's probably going to be able to get some good chicken soup or whatever she needs.
Yeah, she'll have good matzo balls. Do you make a good matzo balls? Your wife makes a good matzo ball soup.
She does. Yeah. She picked that one up. So it doesn't have to just be for the Jews anymore. Please give us your spin on matzo ball soup. We want it.
We should do a little bit of news here. What do you think about that?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Right.
I got a few
I'll go full
here.
Screen on news and bring in the news, and I got a little something for you. Here you go.
All right. Actually, if you want to bring up Xbox Wire, there's something we just published today. It'll be 2 days ago by the time you hear this. But if you've listened to Emma, maybe listen to me, and you want to dip your toe into Age of Empires, we actually have some great beginner tips. Someone on the Xbox Wire team, Mike, who's been working with us for a long time. He's worked on a lot with different PC developers, very into strategy, and he has a post on tips to get you and your army up to speed. If you scroll down a little bit, Larry, it's right there. So that went up at 9 a.m. on the 3rd, and just good to just take a quick glance at this and how to control it and what to do. Because the game brings you along pretty slowly, but at some point you're going to be in a situation where you're going to have like a couple things happening at once, and you almost like kind of freeze. And the good thing is you can hit escape and you can pause and be like, okay, let me get my head together. Great. I'm gonna make sure I get my soldiers to a good place, and then I'm gonna get my city up and defending and doing things. And really being able to multitask is what will make you successful. But there's tricks to being able to jump around the map really quickly, keystrokes you can do, and he's got all of that covered.
You know what's interesting is you bring up. I mean, it's a great article. Go read it. But gone, and we've talked about this on the show before. Gone are the magical days of the manual. Right? Remember when you'd buy the game, especially like those Rockstar games with GTA, you'd have the manual and you could while who knows, you're on your way back from the game store and you could sit in the back seat with your mom driving and you'd be able to read it and get ready.
Those were great. Those were great memories. I remember getting the Legend of Zelda, the original one, on NES, and like the next day, because I don't know what, I think this was a year Hanukkah fell well before Christmas, so I had like a temporary advantage, and I brought the Legend of Zelda like manual into school that day. So because it came out, do games even have like set release dates back then? I don't feel like a midnight launch was a thing back in. Like,
it was just kind of it's out. You just kind of discovered it.
You go into the store and it was just here. We were working with no intelligence at all. Back
we were blind
then.
and stupid.
Showed up with it. So I was the first person that I knew with Zelda, and I brought in the instructions, and I was very briefly like very popular that day until lunch when
you got to sit at the good lunch table and everything.
I mean, again, until I spilled apple juice on the manual, which I still recall that. If I had only kept that in mint condition, I probably could have sold it for like $100,000 now.
Right.
Sending a message back to my 10-year-old self in time to like be a little more careful. In fact, just buy an extra one and keep it in the shrink wrap, and all my problems. You see what these old games are selling for? It's crazy. It's just
and that's why when my wife's like, "Do you really need this?" and then look at this article, right? Yes, I do.
My daughter wants to go to college, so let me just put this. It's in mint condition. I'll get it graded. Also, while we're talking about Age of Empires, by the way, and I mentioned going to Mexico with Austin. Another creator we're working with who we really love, Your Average Consumer. Known very much for doing reviews on all kinds of tech and giving the sort of the average person's viewpoint on it. He is well above average when it comes to building a PC, and he put together a really cool, fully armored PC for Age of Empires, and we've got that over on Xbox Wire and on YouTube as well. Definitely worth checking it out. And that was a collaboration with the with the Game Pass team and the Age team. And,
did you see I'm sure you saw that our friends in the UK, that Julia did that event with the mountain, and they built that trebuchet.
Yes. Yeah. That was so cool. We've gotten to work with the mountain a couple times now. I remember when we did Exo 9. Oh no, was it Exo 19?
No, it was the Forza.
No, it was when we did. It was the Forza 4 launch on the grounds of some Duke's estate, and that's right. The mountain was there. He looks very different now. I think because he was shooting.
Is he more of a mound?
No. Well, he was just huge.
Right.
Because he was the mountain in
Game of Thrones.
And back then they didn't have like a workout regime. He was just a big chunk. But now he's like super fit now. He's of course still like really strong. But anyway, definitely could still lift us all up over his head.
But yeah, they built the trebuchet, and that was a lot of fun. It's funny because there was a tweet that I put out. God, it was a few months ago about Age of Empires and trebuchet, and all I did was I linked to. There's a font that we have at Microsoft that Microsoft released called Trebuchet. And nobody got the joke. It was just lost in translation.
A little bit of font humor, Larry. I appreciate it. Nobody tells a Helvetica pun like this guy. So, but
know your fonts.
You have to be at the right parties.
Know your fonts. Know your font families, and you can go far in life. It's one of the many things. All right, keep going on the news.
And knowing the military call sign, like for each letter. That's
Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Foxtrot, Golf, Hotel, Oscar, Tango. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oscar. Well, how'd you go from hotel to Oscar? What's I? India? I think?
Oh, India. I'm sorry. Or India or Indigo. Yeah, India. Juliet.
Keep going. Larry, you've gone this far. Take us home.
Lima.
You're at the J.
I did Juliet. JK, Kilo, L, Lima, M. What is M? I usually use Mary. I don't know what M is.
Man Cannon. I think it's Man Cannon.
And Nancy. O is Oscar. P is I don't know what P is. P is Peter. Q is Quebec.
Started real strong here, Larry.
Yeah. R is Romeo. S is I don't know what S is. S is Sam. T is Tango. U is ukulele. V is Victor.
Valentine?
W is whiskey.
Victor?
X is
whiskey,
X-ray. Z is Zulu. So I know most of them.
What about Y? We skipped. It's fine.
Yankee.
Larry, you did great. Yankee. All right, you get a solid B+ on that one, or Bravo plus.
There you go. Well done. Well done. All right, where we go? You have some news. You got some more news for us.
Yeah. So a lot of Game Pass news. Of course, this is a heck of a week for Game Pass. So obviously, we talked about Age of Empires 4, part of Xbox Game Pass for PC and Ultimate, and Forza, which is out today, or is out on Monday for that. So yes, also of course available. Minecraft is now available for Game Pass for PC. Rebecca would have been talking about this, but you get to play both editions. So the version that had been on the Windows Store for a long time is like called the Bedrock version, and there's achievements and all this stuff. But a lot of creators and just a lot of people that have been playing Minecraft for over a decade might be playing the Java version. And so you could play the Java version. That's where you see a lot of like interesting mods, and I feel like the Dream SMP use that, and they do like really interesting things there. And so it's cool that there's basically the Minecraft PC bundle. And so if you have Xbox Game Pass for PC or Ultimate, you get to maybe you see what everyone's talking about with the Java version as well.
Yep, have one. Well, you forgot one important one, or is that last week? Was the one from last week? It Takes Two.
I'm not done. Now I'm getting into it. We announced on November 1st. It was on Monday.
Yeah.
All the games coming. So It Takes Two, definitely one of the top games of the year. I mean, actually, we're talking about like the Game Awards now.
I think that was the last game we streamed. Because remember, I was playing so terribly because I was playing and I had like this little window. I don't know how I was doing it, but I couldn't like expand it to my full screen.
You were not doing well, but it was really fun as a result. I think that well, can we at least stream Halo Infinite?
Yes.
When it comes out, that would be good.
Yeah, when Halo Infinite comes out, you and I can do some multiplayer. We can do campaign, whatever you want.
Whenever you want. It'll be good. So a couple more games to talk about then with Xbox Game Pass, in addition to Minecraft and Age of Empires and Forza and eventually, Halo Infinite. It Takes Two, as you mentioned. Another game that seems really fun. I loved Moving Out, and which was like a great, like sort of a spiritual successor, I guess, maybe to Overcooked in a way, where, you work together as a team and you were moving things out. But then what do you do next? Well, there's a game called Unpacking, and it's like a Zen game. And Zen games are a real popular thing these days, like pressure washing simulator, and there's all kinds of things like that. So Unpacking, I'm guessing, you get your Marie Kondo on. But anyway, I just thought that sounded really funny.
I can unpack. It's the organization part that kind of vexes me.
Doing it in real life sucks. Doing it in a video game for achievement, much better. Anyway, check it out. Xbox Game Pass. You want something Zen? The opposite of that would be Kill It With Fire. When do you say kill it with fire, Larry?
Well, I say kill it with fire when I say, "Oh, honey, there's a spider on the floor," and my wife says, "Kill it with fire."
Yeah, exactly. Well, that is now a game, and it's a first-person action game about hunting spiders and causing collateral damage. Which, I mean, have you ever killed a spider and not caused collateral damage?
And not burn down the house?
Yes. I've moved to like the vacuum technique now, where you vacuum, because I used to just like roll up a magazine, whatever we had nearby, and just smash.
Do you have one of those special insect vacuums that you see online, that you see on Amazon?
Is that a thing? No, we just use the regular vacuum.
You go get the regular vacuum and like plug it in and go through the whole thing?
Yeah. I mean, You see some of the spiders?
You're committed, and I appreciate it. You're committed.
My daughter has like a supreme fear of spiders, like the arachnophobia mode that's in Grounded, like that was made for people like her.
Right.
And so that thing needs to be gone without a trace.
Wait a minute. Is that why you moved houses earlier this year? Did your old house have spiders?
And then the new house has spiders too. Like if you're in Seattle, it's like, you have rainy season, then you have summer, and then you have smoke season. Then you have spider season.
Yeah.
And
so when it gets chilly out and the spiders are like, I think it's too cold. I need to find someplace warm to cuddle up. And in they come.
I really think that's what it is. They're trying to come indoors. And they're big boys. Football Manager 2022 will come out on November 9th. Obviously one of the longest running and, most popular soccer sims. So that'll be available day one with Xbox Game Pass on PC. And then there's the Xbox edition, which will be available on console and on cloud.
Yep.
And then this is a really fun one. And I think you might have talked about it last week. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, the definitive edition, is coming.
This news dropped after we recorded the show, so we didn't get a chance to do it.
Well, there you go. So you might have seen that they're sort of, I don't know if remaster is the right term, but enhanced version of the original GTA 3 trilogy there, GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas. That really just changed, you're playing Far Cry 6. Far Cry 6 would not exist if not for, besides Far Cry 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, Grand Theft Auto. Like that made all of it proved out the concept.
By the way, Vice City, best game soundtrack ever. Changed my mind.
I cannot even attempt to change your mind.
I've said it before. When you're coming over that bridge, I think I don't remember what bridge it is, and Broken Wings is playing. That's it. That's it. I'm there.
Great moments. There's other games have had amazing moments to music, like Saints Row with the Kanye song "Power."
I was going to say "Return of the Mac."
Really cool ones. Yeah. Number of good ones.
Or You Don't Need Another Hero.
Yes. Actually, you know what? Really, I didn't have much of a chance to talk because I wasn't on the show last week. Was Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yes,
that's another really fun. And I think you would really enjoy the soundtrack on that because you have some moments where the music will play like right in the middle of a battle at a really fun time. Sometimes it's a little weird, like "Don't Worry, Be Happy" by Bobby McFerrin. Little strange to battle to that one. One I think was used for a puzzle, and that one worked. But there's like "I Need a Hero," and there's some other stuff that songs that on their own I never need to hear, but mixed in with the game.
Yep,
pretty fun. That was a good game. I really enjoyed that one and did not necessarily expect to. So definitely check it out if you're any sort of Marvel fan. They did a really good job with that one.
Excellent.
All right, and I mean. So other recent ones are Backbone, which I've been hearing really good things about. Another one with the talking raccoon, big theme this month. And although I guess you don't call Rocket a raccoon, he doesn't like that. And Moonglow Bay, a fishing game that has a look very similar to a game that I know you enjoyed, Larry, which was The Tourist.
Yes.
I don't think it's the same people, but it's that voxel art style.
Yeah.
Which looks
is it
really
isometric?
Cool. I think it's not isometric. I think you can control the camera.
Okay, that's cool. That's fine. I'll check it out.
But I have to check that out. It's on Xbox Game Pass. I've got it downloaded. It's back there. And, there's a lot to play. But unfortunately, we're coming close to the holidays.
Yep.
Hoping to be able to decompress a little bit and basically just turn this chair around and play for hours on end.
There you go.
Usually with turkey in me belly.
And sometimes me in the headset.
Yes. Hey, we won, so I can't complain. So, Larry, you're an Adidas guy.
I am. I love my Adidas.
Yeah. Look at you. You're a true connoisseur. And do you know who Adidas is named after?
Why don't you enlighten me?
The founder of Adidas was Adi Dassler, and they just sort of put that together in Germany. I believe someone in his family also started Puma, and I think they went their separate ways as well. Shoe lore.
Yeah.
Possibly apocryphal shoe lore, but I'm pretty sure I got that. Anyways, I know you love Adidas or Adidas, and you saw the OG Xbox, very rare Adidas drop that happened last month. Well, there's one for the Xbox 360.
Yes.
The Xbox 360 Forum Mid. Again, probably going to be a tough one to get, but it is the next or the new sneaker here as part of the 20th anniversary collaboration. It's the first ever Xbox themed sneaker available to purchase for fans in the US and Canada. So you're definitely going to want to check out adidas.com. Again, might be kind of tough to get, especially by the time you hear this, but there's some really cool features. You see the video there, like the power button on the bottom. It says achievement unlocked behind that Velcro strap. Adidas really makes great videos like that too when they're doing throwback stuff, and they do a lot of throwback stuff.
I need to get a pair of those. Do you know anybody who get me a pair of those?
I love high tops.
I don't want to wait in line.
No. I mean, but the amount of L's I take on these different apps is significant. So I think this will probably be a tough one to get, but may luck be with you.
Anyway, thank you for pointing that out.
And last thing to call out,
yes.
Here on Friday, not only is Forza Horizon 5 launching, Call of Duty Vanguard is launching. So this might be like the single biggest day of releases. I mean, it's hard to really pin that down. Is it when Halo Infinite comes out, but to have 2 megaton games hit on the same day is relatively rare, and it's happening today.
That is, I got to tell you, it's so good to have you back. I'm bummed we don't have Rebecca here, but it's good to have you back covering the news. Rebecca and I tried to do it last week in your absence, but as you probably heard, we ended down this dark alley of Squid Game.
You know what? Here's the thing. I know you love to be on topic. You want to get in, you want to get out.
Well, I know people show up. I'm respectful of people's time.
But I thought that was a very interesting conversation. I think people want to know a little bit more about the enigma that is Mr. Major Nelson, if that is your real name. And the fact that you all spent like 10 minutes talking about K-dramas and Squid Game in particular, I thought was really interesting. I had to skip most, like you were good at the beginning, and then you were starting to get into like, specific topics. And so then I was like fast forwarding because I haven't. We actually just started watching it. I think I'm on episode 3 right now, out of what is there, like 8 or 9.
Yeah.
So plenty more to go. But I enjoyed the conversation. So it's all right to break free. You don't have to just read the news, I
know, but I'm respectful of people's time, and I just, that one was just interesting because, as I said in the show last week, is that, as gamers, we're used to Battle Royale, and this is such a pivotal part of Squid Game. So
for sure. And I think Mr. Beast is doing like a real life. I mean, I don't think you're properly eliminated. I should hope not. In Mr. Beast take, but I think he was doing something in Minecraft, but then might be doing something in real life with 456 people.
Right.
So if anyone could do it, it's Mr. Beast. So that'll be interesting.
We'll talk about Squid Game when you finished it.
When I'm caught up, give me a week. But yeah, that'd be great.
Do a little post-show action on that. Well, Jeffrey, thank you. First of all, thank you, dear listener and dear viewer, for spending your time with us. If you like it, subscribe and like it and subscribe and like it and subscribe.
You didn't start the show properly.
Well, it's because I looked down and there was an empty box without Rebecca, and I got rattled right at the top of the show.
No, that's fair. That's fair. She's the one that keeps us all, at our best.
Yeah, but if you're if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you drop a comment in there because Rebecca's mom reads them all.
She does. The amount of comments that are like just basically saying hi to Rebecca's mom is heartwarming. So
the comments, unlike most YouTube comments, these are actually fairly civil. So thank you for doing that. So thank you for that. But yeah,
we're a reflection of our listeners, the comments, and you know what? You all are good people.
So there you go. That's how you find us on social. We'll be back next week. We've got a lot of stuff coming up, a lot of interviews coming up. Jeff will be doing some. Rebecca, when she gets back, will be doing some. Of course, I'll be doing some. A lot of games coming out. We're getting ready for the holiday, right?
I mean, it's November, so it's time for the Christmas stuff to come out.
It's time for the immediately. Fun. Time for the fun. All right, Jeff. Thanks for your time. Thank you for Rebecca. Hope you feel better, dear listener, dear viewer. Thank you for your time, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye, everybody.